Shrutismritipuranana Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Mavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sadashivasamaramбхам Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam-karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We're looking at verse number 20. So classification of Jnanam into three varieties. So we are seeing the whole the way karma works. So there are five components, factors involved in every activity. Adhishtanam, Karta, Karanam, Pritak Cheshtaha, and then Daivam. So Adhishtanam, the physical body. Karta, the doer. So who dwells in the physical body. And then Karanam, the tools required for the activity. And the pranas, the proper functioning of the pranas. And Daivam, so the blessing of the divine forces. Divine forces, it is not like someone is sitting somewhere and deciding what I should do, but in terms of having the capacity to do various things. So each Devata presiding over every function of the body. So that is Daivam. And then he said, if this is true for any activity done either with the body or with speech or with the mind. Sharira vang manobhiryate karma prarabhate narha. This is true for all kinds of activities. So activity can be done either with the physical body or with one's talking or with the mind. So while being involved in this, the person who looks at himself as the akarta, who looks at the Atma as the akarta, that person really is wise. That person really understands it properly. Tatra evam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyaha pashyati akrita buddhitvat nasa pashyati durmatihi. But one who sees oneself as the Atma, as the Karta, that person is ignorant. So, Atmanam Kevalam. So, Kartaram Pashyati. So, Atma is Kevala. It is uninvolved, but still looks at the Atma as the Karta. So, as we saw, nothing can be done without the blessing of consciousness. But consciousness cannot be seen as the Karta. So, that is the whole idea. So, even though it is there, it has to be present. But still it does not have any motivation of its own accord. So it is just being present there, sannidhi matrena. And then the ignorance belongs to the jiva. Ignorance does not belong to the consciousness. Ignorance belongs to the jiva. So I force myself to do various things. If I don't want, then I don't need to. But I decide what I want to do, and I'm responsible for whatever I do. And then verse number 17, he said, Yasya nahankrito bhavaha buddhihi yasya na lipyate atva api saha iman lokan na hanti na nibadhyate. So, but on the other hand, one who looks at oneself as the akarta, the real self as the akarta, that person does not get tainted by any activity, however extreme it may be. And here he takes the example of even killing. That person will not kill. So a murderer cannot be called a Brahmajnani. But he is just taking an extreme example and then saying, even if it were the activity of killing, still the person would be an akarta. So if one looks at oneself as the Atma, places one's identity in the Atma. And again, killing here because that is the context. So, because he is addressing Arjuna and the war is about to start. And then he continues saying that, so karma can be classified furthermore. So, in terms of the main motivation for activity, which is in terms of the knowledge for the activity. So in terms of the knowing part, it can be classified into three. Jnanam, Jneyam, Parijnata. And then the activity itself, Karanam, Karma, Karta. Iti Trividhaha, Karma, Sangraha. So the activity itself, it can be classified into three. Karanam, Karma, and Karta. And in terms of the knowledge, so it is jnanam. There are three factors which are jnanam, jneyam, and parijnata. So jnanam here is the vritti. So the tools required for the activity. And jneyam, so the object of knowledge. And parijnata, the knower. So these are the threefold primary impellers of any activity, triggers of any activity, or the catalysts of any activity. So the primary trigger starts from the mind. So first it starts from the vritti that one has. So one mind is drawn towards something. And then the object itself. And the knower. Suppose I want to do something. First, it has to start with the vritti. And then there should be an object of knowledge, which I move towards. For the vritti, there should be an object of knowledge. And then the knower also should be there. So these are the three constituents with regard to the mental part of the activity. And the physical part, karanam, karma, and karta. So this also we saw. And And this can be broadly classified into jnanam, karma, and karta. So the knowledge, the karma, the action, and the agent, and these are going to be qualitatively divided into three categories each. So three levels. So jnanam, the knowledge is at three levels. And then the karma activity is also classified into three levels in terms of the gunas, sattvika, rajasa, and tamasa. See, all this classification is only for one to be able to decide what activity is helpful and what is not. See, someone asks, why should I break my head on all of this? So there is activity or there is no activity. So the reason it is analyzed so extensively is just to help me decide which is helpful and which is not helpful. Because activity is inevitable. I have to keep doing something or the other. But what activities I should involve myself in, what I should not involve myself in, what are waste of time and keep me in samsara. So that is the reason Lord Krishna is giving this classification. There is no other reason. It is not just empty theoretical analysis of action and the whole ecosystem of activity. So that is the reason. So first he says knowledge can be divided into three levels. So the one type of knowledge is where you see the oneness in everything. Sarva bhuteshu yena ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate. If that is the knowledge that is primarily triggering me into activity, then that knowledge is sattvika. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajnanam vidhi satvikam. And looks at the indivisible among the divisions. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu. So here looks at the most fundamental component among all the differences that we see. So looking at the Atma or acknowledging the Atma or recognizing the Atma. So that kind of knowledge. So in whatever I do, if this is at the back of my mind, that the truth is one and divisions are mithya. Divisions are incidental. Then that kind of knowledge is sattvika jnana. So sarva bhuteshu yena ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate. So how do I get this sattvika jnanam? It is purely pramana janyam. That is how I get this sattvika jnana. So I cannot arrive at this accidentally on my own. So Shravanam alone gives this. Because normally I would think that there are innumerable objects in the creation and division is real. So I'm different, someone else is different from me, and there are so many objects. So that is the assumption that every human being normally makes. But to arrive at the understanding that there is a oneness pervading all these divisions, that that is purely arising out of the Shastra's study. So Shravana. So if after gaining this, if one tries to keep this at the back of one's mind, then it is Satvika Jnana. So this is ideal. That is why it is Satvika. So among the three gunas, Sattva is always the best. In terms of one's pursuit of self-knowledge. So Sattva, whatever it is, Sattva guna is better than Rajo guna or Tamo guna. So this is the most preferable kind of understanding that one can have. Ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate. And then the next level, the second kind of knowledge is Rajasa. So verse number 21. He says, Prithakvena tu yajnanam nana bhavan prithakvidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tajnanam vidhi rajasam. So this tu yat jnanam sarveshu bhuteshu prithak vidhan nana bhavan prithaktvena vetti. So that knowledge, this is also knowledge. We are not denying this is knowledge. So this knowledge is very discrete knowledge. Knowledge of the differences and more understanding of how one object is different from the other. So this is Rajasa Jnana. So what is Rajasa Jnana? All empirical knowledge will come under this category. Rajasa Jnana. So any knowledge that I have in the transactional world. So any knowledge that I have gained throughout my life so far. That is all primarily Rajasa Jnana only. So the knowledge that I get in school, college, throughout my education system, it is all more and more understanding of the differences and the kind of differences. Like I have knowledge in some discipline. So whether it is computer science or biology or anything else. So there it is knowledge of the how one object is different from another. So how one thing is different from another. And I use that knowledge for survival in the real world. So that kind of knowledge or any knowledge that is helping me keep my job. So that is helping me pay my bills. So bring money every month into my account. So that knowledge is Rajasa Jnana. And why this is not very helpful in terms of one's spiritual activity, spiritual progress. It is because it makes you more competitive. It increases desire. And it makes you more competitive. See, competition is very good as far as progress is concerned. But competitiveness is a disaster as far as spiritual pursuit is concerned. So, to be successful, you need to be competitive. In fact, if you go to these premium management institutions, the primary thing they teach you there is how to kill the competition. So you go to one of these IIMs or any other place. So that is what is ingrained in that person. Because you have to do better than others. That is how you are evaluated. So it makes you competitive. So the more successful you are, the more competitive you have to be. Because the winner always takes it all. That is the problem with our society. The winner takes it all. So you go to an Olympics, everyone is extremely talented there. But gold medalist, that person gets all the limelight, all the attention. So the society only celebrates winners. So everyone wants to be a winner because the society celebrates winners, everyone wants to be a winner. So if you want to be successful, then you have to be competitive. And then if you want to be successful, you need to dream also. You need to have desires. So what is the problem with having desires? Because desires always inevitably pull you towards cutting corners. So having a very, very clean desire is almost impossible. There is always some place where you will have to compromise. Somewhere you will have to compromise. So you may justify that compromise, but somewhere you always do. So Rajasa Jnanam, it brings more desire and then it makes you more competitive also. So it keeps you well within samsara. So any professional success, it does not have anything to do with spiritual progress. But we are raised usually to think that professional success is everything. So both men and women nowadays. So you have to be successful. So that is the way we are normally raised. So that is not helpful. So this here he says prithaktvena tu yat jnanam nana bhavan prithak vidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tajnanam vitti rajasam. So more and more knowledge of the differences and the kind of differences. That knowledge is Rajasa. So yat jnanam sarveshu bhuteshu prithak prithak. And um, yeah, prithak prithak पृथक विधान नाना भावान पृथक्त्वेन वेत्ति. So this is This is the fact. So that is why sometimes, so not sometimes, many times you see someone is teaching Bhagavad Gita, and then that person promotes himself as being from IIT or some premier institution. What is the connection? There is absolutely no connection. Because what you get at any of the educational institutions is Rajasa Jnana. And here this Rajasa Jnanam is not helpful in any way in seeing the oneness. So this is purely an advertising tactic. So if anyone advertises himself, someone else may be doing it, so that this person has no control. If anyone advertises himself as being from IIT or any premium institution, then you can be very clear that this person doesn't know what he's talking about. Because your Lord Krishna asks you to reduce your competitiveness. And then here you are promoting yourself as being a highly successful person with Rajasa Jnana. So it is ridiculous. It is plain ridiculous. So I'm not saying Lord Krishna is saying that. So this is, but for being successful, for being in the relative, in the being successful in the transactional world, for that Rajasa Jnanam is necessary and essential also. So you make the choice. So again, that's why I said, so these classifications are for us to help, are to help us decide. So what activity is good? What kind of knowledge is good? So it is only to help me decide which direction I should take. That's why we are looking at these classifications. Otherwise, there is no point. And again, Lord Krishna is doing that right in the middle of a battlefield. So there is so much cacophony. And everyone is waiting. Duryodhana shouting from one side, why are you standing there? Why are you not starting the war? And so Lord Krishna is teaching the Bhagavad Gita. So in the middle of all this humongous commotion. So this is very, very important. And then the third kind of knowledge is tamasa. That is the most inferior among the three. It is still knowledge. Okay, we are not denying it as knowledge. That is why I mentioned last class also that generally we have this idea that knowledge is always good. Any knowledge, if you are working towards knowledge, working towards gaining knowledge, then it's a good thing. It is okay. But it is not always good in terms of one's own pursuit of moksha. So for one's mumukshutvam, it is not always good. So that is why you have to slowly make the effort to turn inward. Being outward, turning outward, it only makes you focus on differences. Turning inward alone helps you focus on oneness. Whatever knowledge it is, okay, whether it is arts also are not exempt. That is also well within samsara. Whether it is dance or music or any other art for that matter. Art is a little subtler, that's all. But it is well within samsara. It is Rajasa Jnanam only. But music or any art, it can be a helpful tool towards giving you a glimpse of this oneness. That is what it can do. But nowadays, arts, even South Indian Carnatic music, classical music, there are a lot of people who sing very, very well, who perform well, but it is purely a technical skill. There is no spirituality. Whether it is there or not, they should only say, but still, from their behavior, you can find it is purely a technical skill. Like the most famous T.M. Krishna. So he's a wonderful singer, but from his attitude and from his mindset, you can see that he's looking at it purely as a technical skill. That is completely Rajasa Jnana. It has nothing to do with spirituality. He declares also, he says Tyagaraja songs are useless. So I don't need Tyagaraja songs for Carnatic music. He has declared. And that is his attitude. Okay, Tyagaraja songs are useless, but then why are you singing it in your concerts? Don't sing. But still he has to, otherwise people won't come. So you want to use it, but at the same time abuse it also. So that is the problem. So what I'm saying is, even arts, it is purely under Rajasa category. Okay, just because it is South Indian arts, so music or dance or whatever, does not have to be necessarily spiritual in nature. It can be just kept at the level of technical expertise. So that is a Rajasa Jnana. And we'll move to the next one, third one. यद्दु कृत्स्नवदेकस्मिन् कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्वार्थवदल्पञ्च तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. So that kind of knowledge which makes one obsessed with something. You're just focusing on one thing and shutting off everything else. There are some people like that. So you are just looking in one direction. So you give them a job, they will just shut out everything. They will do only one job, that job. They may do it well. Again, it is knowledge. They may do it well. But from that person's own standpoint, it is not good if you are so narrow-minded, so narrowly focused. So any kind of understanding where one is obsessed with something. So like these people belonging to certain religious organizations also. So the organization becomes more important. Someone will say, Lord Krishna, he is in Goloka. So you are obsessed with that kind of understanding. And anyone else who looks at it differently, so you want to go and you want to defeat that person. But in terms of creating a cultural revival, they are necessary. So we cannot dismiss them outright also. So like even in Bangladesh now, where Hindus are being ill-treated. So there, the government is going after ISKCON because they have the ability to reach the masses. So the masses want that kind of bhakti and that draws them, which is a good thing. So ISKCON is a wonderful organization. But if you are obsessively focused on saying that Lord Krishna has to be understood only in the way I understand it, so that Lord Krishna says it is tamasa jnana. So you will have to be a little broader in one's understanding. And again, there are some people who are so obsessed with anything they know. And they are extremely talented, but still they are not able to be successful because they are just obsessed and looking in one direction. Like there are some talented people, but for you to be successful, you need to have different kinds of skills. So you need to be a little open, and so you need to have a broader understanding of a lot of things. So, but if one is obsessed, then it it blocks you from even being successful. So that is why it is. But the person is talented, but still it is tamasa jnana. Like if you want to be a performer, it is not enough if you are just good in that area. You should be able, you should have some man management skills, people skills, interpersonal skills. And then you should also have some understanding of money, transaction. Only then you can be successful. Just being talented, which is a very one-sided way of looking, narrow way of looking. So that will not help a person in becoming successful. So that kind of obsessive knowledge, where you are focused in a very narrow area, so that is tamasa. Tat tamasam udakrit. Yat tu ekasmin karye kritsnavat saktam. In one job, you are obsessed. So you are excessively focused only on what you are doing. Like you are given something, then you can do it for days together, shutting out everything else. It is good for concentration, but it is not helpful in the bigger picture. So ahaitukam, blindly, blindly you are obsessed with something. Atatvarthavat. And that is, you think that is the whole world is contained only in that, which is not true, which is, which is, which is a false understanding. So at the alpam cha and very limited, tad tamasam udakritam. That is called tamasa. So from the next verse, he is going to, with this, we finished three kinds of knowledge, three levels of knowledge. So let us, we can decide what kind of knowledge I need, I want. So what is helpful in terms of my own Atma Jnana, so or pursuit of moksha. So then he's going to divide karma into three varieties. Jnanam karma cha, karta, then the karta. Verse number 23. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshat kritam aphala prepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate. So niyatam sangarahitam. Yat niyatam karma. So that karma that is ordained for you. aragadveshata kritam. So that you do with an attitude of nishkama, araga, without ragadvesha. Aragadveshata kritam. Aphala prepsuna karma yat tat satvikam uchyate. So, and without being obsessed with what is going to be the outcome of that activity. So you do it just because it has to be done, without any grudge, without any complaint. Anything that you have to do. First, understand what I have to do and what I have to avoid. And then if I have to do something, then I do it without any grudge or complaint. See, there are some people who are always complaining. So my job is not good, this is not good. So life is frustrating. So, but this person is at peace with one's own destiny. So this is what I'm destined to do, and I will do it cheerfully. So that kind of karma, that kind of activity is called satvika. So again, because it is summary of the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, we have seen all of this. In fact, it is another way of saying karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phala hetu bhuhu mate sangaha astu akarmani. So just do what you have to do and do not be obsessed with the outcome. So here, niyatam sangarahitam. So nitya karma, naimittika karma. Both religious activity, what you have to do, you do cheerfully and ungrudgingly. And araga dveshataha, without like or dislike. Because if you like have a like, then it get converted into kama. If you have a dislike, then it gets you want to avoid it. So without judging the activity. So that kind aphala prepsuna karma. And again, aphala is not being obsessed with the outcome. You cannot do any activity without um, expecting anything. Otherwise, you would not do anything at all. So here, aphala, generally, this negative has different kinds of meanings in Sanskrit. Aphala means without expecting any result also. It could be translated like that. Could be understood like that. But here it is not without expecting any result, but without being bothered by the outcome. So like Arjuna is fighting the war. So he is obviously, and if he is fighting against Karna, obviously he's trying to defeat him. So he cannot fight with Karna without expecting a result. So, but still doing that without being obsessed with the outcome. What will happen if I lose? Again, this is good for normal everyday life also. So if you are always obsessed with the outcome, then you are always stressed. So it brings in anxiety. What happens if what I'm expecting does not happen? Then you're not able to focus on the activity. So just leave it alone and then focus on what you have to do now. And whatever has to happen will happen later. It is also good for one's own mental health in the normal life. So niyatam sangarangerahitam aragadveshataha kritam aphala prepsuna karma yat tat satvikam uchyate. So that is satvika karma. So again, we have to decide. So what is the attitude I have to inculcate towards any activity? Then, verse number 24. So again, for the previous verse, Lord Krishna said in the second chapter also, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So even if you do a little bit of karma that is enjoined for you, so that is ordained for you. So that helps you protect yourself from great danger. So even if you do a little bit of what you're supposed to do, so that saves you from great danger. So again, verse number 24. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udakritam. On the other hand, that karma, kamepsuna karma, so that which is done with the motivation of the outcome, primarily motivated by the outcome. Kama ipsuna karma. So again, for a mumukshu, activity is done, but it is done for chitta shuddhi. But for a samsari, activity is done with the expectation. So that is, here also there is an expectation. Chitta shuddhi is the expectation. So there it is expectation of a certain kind of result. So that is the expectation. So that is the difference. Because that expectation, it brings joy which is very short-lived. So this chitta shuddhi, so that is for good. So that lasts forever. So kamepsuna, so with the desire for a result, sahankarena, and done with a lot of ego. And that is how you can be successful. Again, for to be successful in the normal world, so you need to have a very big ego, a very strong ego. So that's why one actor said, which is a nice statement. So I think Shah Rukh Khan only. So he recognizes that. So he said once, for you to be a success, for one to be a successful actor, you need to be self-obsessed. For any for any activity, you need to have a very strong ego. Even artists, some artists who are successful. So however much they are, they are good. But for you to be a performer, you should be obsessed with yourself. Because performance means you have to be always be rooted in your ego. Because you have to go there and perform because people are looking at you, and so you need a positive response. So you need to be self-aware, whether you are a dancer, whether you are a musician, whether you are successful in any place. So with the total purity, I will do my activity, then might as well go for Brahma Jnana. So why do you want this activity in the first place? So, or do it just for Chitta Shuddhi. So, even though it brings success, so this Rajasa karma done with this kind of attitude, it brings success and it is necessary for success. Still, it keeps you in samsara. So, make that choice. Again, Lord Krishna is not saying that you should have only this attitude or anything like that. He's just saying that this attitude leads here and this attitude leads elsewhere. So you decide. And even if you don't have an ego, if you perform well, still you will get an outcome, you will get a result. But you will get Chitta Shuddhi also. So it is beneficial in both ways. You will get both Chitta Shuddhi and the result because any activity has to produce a result. So you will get Chitta Shuddhi and you will get the result also. So here he says, Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha. So done with being obsessed with the result. So or with a huge ego. Kriyate bahulayasam, but puts in a lot of effort. There is no lack of effort. So you are putting in a lot of effort. Like the audience for the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he has been focusing on Rajasa Jnanam, Rajasa Karma only. So there is all the 13 years that he was in the forest, 12 years. So that he was in the forest. So he could have been doing, contemplating on Atma Tattvam if he wanted. But he was working for Divyastra. So the celestial weapons he was working for. So because he had to take revenge or he had to claim his right. So that is what he was doing. So it was all Rajasa. Again, what Lord Krishna says that you make it Satvika. Lord Krishna does not say, Arjuna, you are a Brahmajnani. So he is not a Brahmajnani. So he is like anyone else. But extremely successful. In that era, so in multiple generations, he was probably more accomplished than anyone else. So the world probably will not see another warrior, another one as accomplished as Arjuna, but still that knowledge is purely Rajasa. So just because he had so much knowledge, Lord Krishna says, it keeps you in samsara. It will keep you in samsara. Because you are doing it with a certain attitude. So with the desire for a certain outcome, you will get it. You want an Olympic medal, you will get it. If you work so hard, Bahulayasam. It requires immense effort, but it will keep you in samsara. There is no question about that. But Lord Krishna says, you be like me. Nanavaptam avaptavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. So there is nothing for me to gain in this world or in any loka, but still I keep doing what I have to do. Avaptavyam na uh, avaptavyam na, I mean, I don't have anything to gain, or there is nothing that I have not gained. Anavaptam avaptavyam. So, but still I keep doing. So that is how one needs to work. So that's what he says here. And then the third, tamasa karma. Verse number 25. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapekshya cha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattat tamasam uchyate. So that karma, this is also activity, this also involves effort. But that karma which is taken up without thinking about the consequences. You rush headlong into that activity without thinking about what are the consequences. So these people are also putting in effort. So think whether you are rushing into the activity without looking at the consequences or after evaluating the consequences. So anubandham means the consequence, the natural consequence, outcome. Kshayam or loss, what is the cost benefit analysis? So what is it that I could be losing? Suppose I mean, there are a lot of people who are excessively focusing on professional success. But then your family life suffers, your spiritual growth suffers. So if you are focusing like that, then that is tamasa karma. Because you are not calculating what you are missing out on. That's why people who are extremely successful in one area, later they regret. I should not have done this. So I should have had a work-life balance. So one who is not thinking about what one could be losing out. Kshayam. Kshayam is what one could be losing out if I rush headlong into this. So that kind of person, himsam, and then not bothered about how my actions will be impacting other people. Himsam. Injuring, whether it is environment or it is the certain section of humanity. So America does something which is good for them, but it is not good for some other country. Then that is tamasa. So you are only focusing on your welfare. That is why in India, so it is good. This government keeps proclaiming Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is a good thing. So you're not looking at just your own welfare. And they're walking the talk also. So like in the G20 summit, so they talked about including Africa. So there is no necessity, but still you are concerned about the whole of humanity and how what we are doing or the progress we are making is positively or is negatively affecting other people, impacting other people. So at all levels, we can do that. So if I am doing something good for myself, how is it positively or negatively impacting? No, how is it negatively impacting? So himsa, impacting someone else. If it is there, then I avoid it. So I want protein intake. Again, Shah Rukh Khan. So I will eat a tandoori chicken every day. So who is worrying about the poor chicken? So every day some chicken has to sacrifice its life for this fellow's plate. So which is ridiculous. So and then you breed animals for food. So that is tamasa karma. And that's a huge industry. So this beef industry, this animal product industry is the biggest industry. So you don't care about animals, and then talk about prevention of cruelty towards animals. So eat non-vegetarian every day, and then talk about prevention of cruelty. So anyway, so himsa. So avoid any activity that would be injuring anyone in any way. Mohat arabhyate, and activity that is begun with confusion, without clarity. Mohat arabhyate. So that kind of activity is called tamasa. So whether my activity is like that. So this helps analyze, evaluate my activity. What it fits into. My daily routine, my daily activity, or things that I do once in a while. So it has to be evaluated with these parameters. Anyway, we'll stop here and continue. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ